first and say good morning, Malaysia.
Selamat Hari Raya Singapura.
Eid Mubarak, everyone. And Maaf Zahir Batin. Welcome to this week's show. Hi, Malar. How are you? And what did you do for Raya this 2 days ago, okay?
Yes, I was in Ipoh with my wonderful brother who was celebrating Raya. So it was nice to see, to be in the Raya mood, like just, watching my mom cook rendang and, getting the house ready. Even though you didn't fast, you get the benefits of all the other people who were fasting for a while.
Correct. Yeah. There was a DK Barat show in Singapore. In Geylang Serai, the eve of Raya. So that was very, very interesting, and it's a nice, refreshing difference compared to the two years before. Right, the past 2 years. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to introduce back, right?
What do you mean? What are we going to do today? I don't think we could have had a better guest.
Okay, yes, we do,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, the wizard behind the scene that we've been dying to introduce to the world, who refused to come out of her world. So you better introduce her properly now.
Better, okay. Yes, ma'am. So Rebecca Chalmers. How do I know Rebecca Chalmers? I know Rebecca Chalmers because we belong to a network of trainers in a space called Think on Your Feet, right? And but Beck has a very interesting background, more than the Think on Your Feet, right? So let me backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about her background. Did you know that she ran a restaurant? And then she did that after a stint in running a restaurant. She then led a team in a fund management company firm.
Whoa!
Yeah, right. Then she did another switch, and then she went into learning and development, and that took her all the way from Australia to the UK, and she now manages a firm. Not manages, she's executive director in a firm in the UK. But that's not why we're here to talk to her. She, like you said, we are here to talk to her because of this wonderful, brilliant idea called the flow profiler, right? And she's going to tell us why she went down that route. So we're going to bring Rebecca Chalmers up on stage with us. Malar, once Joe does her magic, and here comes...
While Joe does the magic, I also want to tell people how I got to know Beck.
Okay.
Yeah, I got introduced to Beck by this friend who wasn't a friend before that in Singapore. Her name is Sharmani, and she introduced me to Beck. And when I first met Beck, when I did the flow profiler and the deep, like I was thinking, like, what is this, right? And then after that, how all the people that I don't like become like the people I really love, including Singapore. So today, my name for the way I
sure. Are you saying that you did not like Beck?
Yeah, I mean, she told me I should change. Why would I like Beck? She's, I thought I was doing okay, and then she does the debrief for me, and then she doesn't even tell me. She asks me a question that keeps me awake for many months. Of course, I don't like her. And then every time, I was trying to be smarter, and I was trying to prove her wrong when she said, the concept of overuse and all. And I'm finding she's always right, and it is not fair. So let's bring her now that she has, helped me to hopefully grow up a little bit. All right.
Yeah, Gerald is being funny.
So much honesty so early. Hi.
Hello, Beck.
Good morning, Good morning, Mala. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're most welcome. So now we can say Singapore, Malaysia, and Sydney, or Australia.
You can,
right?
Yeah, we're working our way through Asia Pac.
Yeah. We are doing that. Gerald Fernandez just joined us, and he said good morning, and he did a little bit of a meme on our names: Malaysia, Malar, and Singapore, Sharm.
Hey, that's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's MM and SS.
Yeah,
I want to see what he does with back and Australia, but we'll leave that for another
I
time.
have to announce it loudly now so that Gerald is under pressure. He's one of our latest addition to the interpreters team. And they run a team, and they do recruitment beyond training and all of that. So Gerald, it's out there in public. You better do something about it. Okay, moving on.
Gerald, welcome to the Flow Profiler family. I'm looking forward to meeting you when the time's right. Congratulations.
There you go. So back talking about the Flow Profiler family, right? So tell us, this family that you built. Why? Tell us the backstory. Now, I want the juicy parts, right? I don't want the parts that you don't share with people. It's just Malar and me. So I want the juicy parts about it.
This isn't being recorded at all, right?
No, it's not at all.
Professional. Okay. All right. Well, I can talk about flow, no problem at all. I mean, it's my focus, me in passion. But have you ever noticed those moments in life that everything just joins up? It just kind of comes together, and the result is a deep satisfaction. And it doesn't seem to matter whether or not it's a small thing or a big thing. Sometimes the small act of starting a very long journey can be deeply satisfying. And I've noticed that this moment, this recognition, is a very key part of my personal success, but also the success of others. I was watching in organizations, and as you said, I've got quite a broad resume, but I was watching in organizations and seeing how people, through the sheer act of courage and action, were achieving some of the most extraordinary outcomes, exceeding their own expectations, and often the expectations of those around them. And I was kind of going, wow. I mean, that wow was slightly over-dramatized to make the point, but it's like, wow, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Are they even aware that they're doing it? And can we find a way to replicate this kind of success? For me personally, Flow Profiler is an absolute compulsion. I have to do it. It is everything that gets me out of bed in the morning. I believe deeply that everyone should have the opportunity in the workplace to demonstrate their personal excellence. But I also believe that good employers, and I mean good employers, should expect or be able to expect that their people are going to come to the workplace and bring the best version of themselves. I'll go into, if you want me to, the more personal reasons as to why this journey is so deep for me, but give us the dirt. But flow for me, just to sum up on that point, it is deeply powerful. It is fantastically practical. And it is such a positive way to approach life and business. And that's why I do what I do.
We're waiting for if you want me to go into that.
I mean, we can talk about overuse of behaviors, this idea of being the best version of yourself. When is too much? And I'm sure your viewers will learn quite quickly or observe quite quickly from my style, have some rather strong personality traits. And I have a tendency of being the over best version of myself. And that's left to massive health implications for me, where I replicate behaviors, I overuse my perseverance, and I end up getting put on my backside. So I don't do things in half. So we got into this idea. So I'm now 48. So I must have been, I was 41 at the time. Got into this idea of power foods. So we were creating smoothies with all these power foods, and we're going to be super healthy and super agile and super awesome. It's all going to be very super. Well, it turns out that you can blend, you can puree 6 kiwi fruit, but you can actually eat 6 kiwi fruit. It's quite an unpleasant task to undertake, and there's a really good reason for that. The food proteins in kiwi fruit are super, super active. And that's really good for the plant because it stops it from getting diseases, and it makes it resistant to molds and fungus and all that kind of stuff. The problem is that I was unaware that I had an underlying health condition. It had gone undiagnosed. And when you have an underlying health condition that gives you a hypersensitivity to allergens, and you day on day put 6 kiwi fruit pureed in your body, then you have a reaction. And the first time I found out that I had food allergies was in the back of the ambulance on the way to hospital. And had my husband, Ian, business partner and husband, amazing human being, not been late for work that day, I wouldn't be here. But it didn't stop there, because then it became about, my autoimmune system. I've got to improve my micro gut health, my biome. It's got to be, we can do probiotics and prebiotics. And honestly, if you can ferment it, we were fermenting it and we were going crazy. Again, demonstrating overuse, very extreme behaviors, but it felt good at the time. I was behaving in a way that was comfortable for me. Well, it turns out fermented foods are very high in histamines. And if you keep doing the same thing, your body's going to correct you. The result, of course, being I've now got 12 foods I'm at high risk of anaphylactic shock for. So that includes eggs and dairy and cheese and wheat and soy and sesame and mustard and avocado and pineapples, and it was a wake-up call. So as much as this is a powerful, practical, positive space to be in, this product family, this journey is personal for me, and I use this stuff every single day to keep me in check, to keep me in balance, to act as a counterpoint to me being the best version of me in a way.
And can you give us an example of like how do you keep yourself in check? So how does it help you?
A lot of work. It takes practice. It really does. But the formula is really quite simple. We use flowprofiler to help people with the self-awareness piece. And this is an occupational instrument. We're not into this field of clinical psychology at all. So everything's workplace-based. But there are learnings that you can extrapolate certainly to your personal life. So the self-awareness piece is very much about how am I behaving in this moment in time? Am I feeling blood pressure rising? Am I getting angry? Am I getting nervous? Am I scared? What's going on? But the awareness is only one piece of the puzzle. You then need to know what to actually do with that information. So it's that self-management, self-regulation, and we're very proud of our portfolio of tools and techniques that help people in the moment make those adjustments. But I want to observe there really is a third part of the puzzle, and it's this idea, and this is where the personal excellence piece comes in for me. It's this idea of self-accountability. It is being present to turn up for yourself every single day, to care enough to make these types of adjustments. So yeah, I guess it's really the combination of the three, through the awareness, knowing what to do once you're aware, and then just keeping yourself accountable.
I know something about back, Malar, that maybe you don't know. I'm not sure, but maybe you don't know. And I'm going to ask this question, then you take over, okay? All right? Oh, last question, okay?
I'm actually a bit scared, Sharm.
So I know Beck does something very, very unique. She goes and chases storms. She's a storm chaser, right? She chases tornadoes. I mean, to me, it's like the most are you freaking mad kind of a thing, right? But I mean, me, scaredy cat, right? So if you take that, where does that fit in flow profiler. Blah, 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 it's my turn. Flow profiler. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't actually considered that relationship, but what I can tell you is the reasons why. For me, it's very much about the intellectual exercise. When you look at most things, or nature, full stop, it's really chaos theory in practice. And I am deeply stimulated by that intellectual academic process of trying to get anywhere within an hour's drive of a severe weather event. The other part of it is we're not adrenaline junkies. We don't go out for the buzz of it, which often confuses people, because a lot of people drawn to that type of activity are drawn by the adrenaline. I'm kind of more of the outcome orientation of, oh my gosh, there's a tornado. Tick the box. Let's go and find where we're going to eat for dinner. Whereas my driving team are like, oh, Beck, can we just stop and watch it for a minute, kind of thing. Well, of course, it was always going to be there. The science said. But it's also more deeply I've come to observe over the years, and this was actually pointed out to me by a very good friend who lives in Poland. You may know her, Laura Kloss-Sokol. And she observed that, in her opinion, it was how I actually connected with nature. It was how I actually grounded myself in the busyness of my mind. And when I reflected on it in that sense, it also came, we became aware of the fact it's also the only type of holiday where Ian and I can go away and don't end up talking about business or creating a new business model, which is actually really healthy for us. So yeah, we haven't been out in the field for 2 years, obviously with COVID restrictions. Next year's our year. We're building towards that. So I'm honing my skills this year and doing some virtual chasing, making sure all the technology is in place.
There you go. I don't know. I thought there was an element of growth that's, like you said, not to do with the business model, but just yourself. And I agree with Laura. Yeah. Over to you, Mother. Your turn. You think I was easy? Wait, she's coming.
I was just thinking, I think chasing the storm is crazy. I can't wrap my head. I see quite a number of people on LinkedIn which is not showing. So people on LinkedIn, say hello if you can. But I'm going to say hello. Gerald says, I'm reading this for you, Beck, so that you don't miss it because it's got my name. Beck, we've heard so much about you from Malar. Looking forward to meeting you and happy to be part of the Flow team. So I had to read it just in case you miss it. Sundar is from India. Hi, Sundar. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Now, under pressure is always something that I would say I'm still recovering. Okay, I'm recovering. So for me, the big aha moment when Sharm asked me to do Flow Profiler, and when you gave me the debrief, was the bit that I had to struggle with was the bits on under pressure, right? Underuse and under pressure. Now, I'm very curious to know what made you. So first and foremost, when you were designing, you were looking to design a program. I'm very curious to know what was in your head. What was the outcome you were trying to achieve, right? But before, as I give you a bit of space to think about it, not that you need it, I think chasing the storm, the way back explained it, is a stretch every time. So, and that's a flow state, right? Because as she was explaining it, I realized that she says she looks at the outcome. It's not an adrenaline rush. So it's not an in that sense. Yeah. But the fact that she's going for the outcome, and every time the bit that I don't know what she needs to think about before she chases the storm, right? I would think that that's a stretch space, which is a flow state, I suppose, for us. So I had to say that. So Beck, tell us, what were you thinking in terms, what outcomes were you looking for when I'm sure you did a lot of research to say what's the type of product, and then of course that might have led you to flow. So tell us that.
Yeah, okay. So I guess there's two pieces to the puzzle. It's kind of like, what were we thinking, to answer your question very specifically, and then some of the misconceptions around overusing or stretching yourself in this way. So the reason why we measure 2 states, so 2 moments in time, the day-to-day and under pressure, is it gives us a very strong insight into an individual's adaptive strategies. How are they adapting their behavior as they're facing perceived challenges or other bits and pieces going on? Are they stretching? Are they scrunching, hiding in a little hole? Are they largely swimming along quite happily with very, very little change? And it's that insight in terms of those data points that actually helps focus the conversation around what's working for me. How am I doing it? How can I replicate some of the success, the outcomes? Do I need to make adjustments to ensure that my behavior is more healthy? So the comparison of the 2 states do give us those data points to have that conversation around to what extent is someone adapting under pressure. Quite separately, though, there is a perception that overuse or being in the in the overusing zone specifically is a bad thing. And I just want to put that to bed. What we're actually reporting on here is the idea, as you say quite rightly, Marla, that people are stretching their behavior. They are some way activating their behavior. And that can be a really, really powerful thing. I know, certainly for myself, as you've rightly identified, that I light up like a Christmas tree under pressure. It's amazing. I'm the most responsive and agile and on it that I could ever be. Except I am also now incredibly self-aware, and I know that I enjoy that space so much that when I spend too much time being the best version of me and I stretch too far for too long, then some of the negative stress, not the positive stuff, but the negative stresses start to manifest. And this is where you may have observed it in your own behavior or your own life experience, where you might start getting the headaches or not being able to sleep at night, or not being, kind of those signs that are indicating that you've got burnout coming. And the key thing here is, wow, that's an unhealthy use of being in the overusing zone. That's just, you're going to end up in trouble if you stay there for a long time. So it's also about helping people know what to do when they get there. So yeah, I'm self-aware that I'm overusing. Yeah, I'm self-aware that emotionally and physically I'm showing signs of stress. But it comes to that second part of our journey. What do I do about it? How do I talk myself back from the ledge? And how do I make sure I'm balancing this idea of self-deception? This story that we tell ourselves that actually it's okay, it's just a work situation, I have to do it, I'm the only one that can do it. All those types of things. We reassure ourselves that our bad behavior is valid. How do I stay accountable to myself so I don't fall into that trap of self-deception? I hope that kind of answered questions. Got a bit off track there, but
yeah, if you got off track, I didn't know how you got off track, so I need to do the course again. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, I think it's the celebrated version in this part of the world is, even our advertisements will say you need to work under pressure or under a lot of stress. And I think that's a part that we celebrate. And because we celebrate it, so what I love is, that whole idea of flow profiler is not the numbers, it's the story behind the numbers.
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
And when we uncover the story is when we begin to recognize the self-accountability that you talk about. But of course, when you talk about self-deception, right? Self-deception can be there in whatever state you are, whether it is under pressure, right? Whether it's overuse or underuse, or even in flow states, we can tell ourselves stories, right? So, and I think what I really liked about what you said is the idea of self-deception. So wherever you are, is being in check with yourself to know, whether you're aware, why you do what you do, and how to shift it if there's a need, and are you going to be accountable for the behavior, i.e. your results that you are looking for, right? And because overuse, not under pressure, so overuse and under pressure is celebrated in this part of the world. And of course, the pandemic has sort of knocked a lot of us into, being in that space to ask, is this who I really want to be, right? Am I my best version? Because we have both our own self deception stories about what does it mean to be your best version, right? So that we can talk. There's a lot of talk around health, well-being stuff, right? But how does underuse show up in terms of productivity?
In terms of productivity specifically,
Yeah.
well, I always look at these things like there's always two sides to the coin. It's yin and yang. There's balance. I mean, one of the beautiful thing about the storm chasing is that these violent natural events is just the universe trying to correct itself. It's always trying to find an equilibrium. And I think there's truth in that we can extrapolate to pretty much every aspect of life. And so when you look at productivity, it really comes down to what behaviors does the role or the situation require from me in this moment in time? What can I actually do about it in order to achieve a better outcome? If I'm underusing a behavior, and I know this from my own personal example, I will actively work to underuse some of my stronger behaviors so that I can create space for the people around me. And what that results in is collective productivity. So it's not a personal productivity, but by leaning out, I can create space for others. And I can only do that because I'm self-aware of how annoying I can be at times. And I actually know what to do about it. And I work very hard at that. But then if the role requires me to demonstrate an active use of the behavior, and I have an absence of that behavior, then of course it's going to have a negative impact on my productivity, no question. But it always is going to come down to what does the situation actually require from me? And do I have the resources to draw on to make those behavioral adaptations?
Nice. And that brings us to Gerald's question. This is his favorite question. And I'll tell you the secret of Gerald later, right? He says, I understand, and then I may be wrong, that underuse or overuse is based on situation, environment, and that it's neither good or bad. Is the preferred situation to be in a flow state and be able to go up and down as required, but always written to base? And I would say this on Gerald's behalf, right? That I think he's looking at all 18 dimensions being in flow states.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's fantastic clarification, because I would suspect that's nigh impossible to achieve, but very aspirational. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that report that reports 18 dimensions in the flow state. I think one of the things that we look at when we're measuring flow profiler is what's actually driving the behaviors. And there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on there, like innate personality traits, or my family culture, or my values. And people are really complex. And it's very difficult to kind of put everybody in the same box and put a nice little bow on them for convenience. So I will always say, what does your life require from you now? What does your workplace situation require from you now? What do your social relationships require from you now? Mostly they're going to require that you're able to stretch and flex your behavior so that you can get through life and interact like a high-functioning human being. The flow state really represents optimal, healthy, active use of the behavior. So if your situation, your social circumstances, your workplace requires from you healthy, active use of a behavior, then yes, that is certainly what you're aiming for. If you are in the underusing zone for some of the dimensions, some of the things we measure, and your workplace, your social life, you don't require that behavior, leave yourself alone. You're not broken. You're amazing. If you are falling into our overusing zone, so this is going back to stretching those behaviors, you just need to be honest with yourself and do that check-in. Whether you're having a good time or a little bit of a tougher time, do you know what to do about it to make sure that this doesn't run away from you? Because it can run away from you all too quickly. Thank you,
Nice.
Gerald. Great question.
Yeah. I will send you Gerald's report, of course, with his permission.
Oh, well, with his permission, because it is Gerald's data.
Yeah, and then you know where Gerald is coming from. So well done, Gerald. Thank you for the question. Sundaraj says, conscious of getting recovered is the ultimate state of awareness. Well said, Mother. Thank you, Sundar. Now, one of those things that, because I think you've over and over again, you're helping us to think through what is appropriate for the role, right? And one of those things that we talk about in this region, not sure whether it happens in your part of the world, maybe you all don't have a need for that, right? Is the idea of authenticity. Where does authenticity being? So we're talking about my best version, and we're not assuming. So there seems to be an assumption that my best version may not be my authentic version, whereas some people think my authentic version is my best version, right? Now, because we bring in the idea of, being your best version according to the requirement of the moment and the day, right? And because, we're talking about work, we are measuring behaviors at work that is appropriate for the role, for you to be effective in the role, right? Where do you, how do you see both the best version of myself and being your authentic self? Where does that come through for you? Or
Wow, big question. I think it's going to come back to this self-deception piece. When I am behaving in a stretched way in the overusing zone, under pressure or otherwise, just kind of is a space I prefer to play in. I feel as though I'm behaving authentically. Is that the right thing for me in health-wise? Maybe not, because that's already been proven. So I think it's going to come down to this idea of self-deception and social desirability. To what extent am I promoting myself in a way to get outcomes? Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's not a bad thing. To what extent am I actually aware of what my true nature is? I'm not sure I can answer the question. It's a heck of a journey. It's an exciting journey. What would you say, Marla? How would you?
Well, this is a double-edged sword, Well, I shouldn't have tried it back, but never mind. Thanks, Beck. Well, I think for me, I think the assumption that we work with is that when you think you're authentic, it's all good.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that assumption is true, right? I think authenticity is showing up as you are, right? And with awareness and with regulation, you can show up as you are appropriately.
Yes. And I think the appropriateness is a key word, because I have come across people, we measure emotional regulation. So if I'm underusing my emotional regulation, you're going to know everything that I'm feeling, everything that's wrong with me. And if I have had a fight with a neighbor's dog, you're going to hear about it. Like it often manifests as oversharing. If I am overusing my emotional regulation, then I'm an absolute poker face. And I do find around this authenticity piece that often the emotional regulation is an interesting scale. My authentic self is I fought with a neighbor's dog and I felt really bad about that, but the dog was wrong. And so I'm going to wear that on my face. Now, the fact is I'm about to turn up live with my good friends Malar and Sharm. Is this the image I want to project of myself? But am I being inauthentic by not projecting that image? Because it's a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah, but Yeah, I also think that, so one of those things that I think about is that I think we talk about image is important, but I think at the end of the day, whenever we feel we are showing up, and we are not able to express ourselves as we are authentically, as we came, I think we need to rethink whether the way I'm proposing to show up authentically, especially when it's negative, it has a negative connotation. My check-in for me is it in line with who I am in terms of my identity that shows up through my values, right? Because yeah, so I think we need to re-anchor with, so for me the re-anchoring is very much, okay, is this who I really am? That means, would I show up the way I really am without caring, without worrying about the consequences on people and the impact that I have? Because then my identity needs to actually, my value system has to be part of my identity. And for me, that requires a lot of awareness, regulation, and alignment, which you call, I believe, accountability, right? So I find that, and also because we're talking about workplace, right? So one of those things that we've been talking about when we do flow profiler in teams is that, why does the organization employ you, right? Why it's for your productivity, right? And you need to decide at the point of time when you are joining the firm, how much of yourself can show up as it is, whether the environment is set right. Because, and I think that's where you hit the nail when you spoke about collective productivity, right? Because we need to be able to be flexible with our behavior, because at the end of the day, in a team, it's not I, it's a we that actually wins, because, and that's what we're paid for. So I think there are other factors that come and into play. And but my personal belief system is that, I think we use the word authenticity very loosely because we want to be comfortable. Whereas I think what flow profiler does is that it helps us to find our best optimal performance, and we all feel good about ourselves when we are at optimal or our best, right? And because we don't reflect and we don't reconcile it, I think we tend to get a bit confused. And sorry, there was a long one. Authenticity is a close to my heart topic. I'm just going to read to you. Sorry, you wanted to say something back?
No, I think you've got a great handle on it. It's a complex thing and it's subjective.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to, if I may, and I know you want to go somewhere else, Mala, but it always comes back to, as you say, what does the workplace require from me? And if it requires me to activate my emotional regulation so I can project myself as the professional that the business expects me to be, my employee, because at the end of the day, they are giving me money in exchange for the value that I'm bringing the organization. And if that's an expectation, then that's what I should need to do. Yeah.
Yes.
If you take that a little bit broader, you could take that to a different community, right? So if we take the organization as a community and we take that a little bit broader, then there's the society's expectation as well. Yes. And if you belong to a culture or a society where the group is more important than the individual, then that's also going to impact how you show up, right? What's your authentic self, right? Am I going to stand out away from the group, right? Do I dare to, right? Or am I going to, suck it in and, be part of the group? Or I belong to that group. I am this individual, but this society, this group has a certain way of looking at what is success, what's productivity, and I want to be part of it. So I think it's complex. I mean, life is complex, isn't it? And Flow Profiler, from my perspective, just makes it a little bit easier for us to figure out ourselves first before we go and look at, the whole team or anything else beyond that, right? It's just looking at me and what it is that I need to either be aware, know, and if I want to, do something about it.
It really does help focus the conversation. The complexity, the drivers of behavior, they're limitless. Like it's infinitesimal in what influences how we are the way we are. But with that focus in conversation, that's what we hope to do, Sharm. Yeah, great insight. Right. Thank you.
Nice.
I'm going to bring up Nate's question or comment. You want to highlight that for me, Malar? All right. Oh, okay. You went to that one first. What you were? Nate says, "I'm blessed to know Sharm and Malar. I did the profiling with Malar. Lots of insights. Thank you for creating something beautiful for humanity."
Oh, yeah, you guys actually made me squiff.
And I want to do that second. Never mind. Then I asked what to ask the question. Okay. So Nate has another comment or a question. He says,
yeah, but sorry, Sharm. Sorry, can I interrupt you? So I'm not asking, I didn't put up the question because I think this leads us into, Sharm, we get this feedback pretty regularly, just to let you know.
Thank you.
You would hear from a group of new interpreters that we've been working with. This is becoming more regular. Because I think two things. I think it is the debrief that you insist on, right? And the feedback. Yeah. So yeah, it is that because people then self-reflect and they realize how we can actually lead an optimal life, and it just happens, in that 1 hour. So we're getting this more regularly, and I want to thank Nate for saying this over and over again. And this brings me to the question of, Flow Profiler focuses on EQ, resilience, and motivation.
Yes.
Right? It seems so perfect. And I know I'm biased and I don't quite care about it. Okay. But tell me, what made you what made you think that these were the three areas that we needed to focus on? And you did this pre-pandemic, right? Like,
yeah. It was 2018 and 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you think through and say, okay, these are the three areas? How did you arrive at that first? And I think I leave you with that question before I ask the second question, because I see Sharm staring at me for doubling up the question.
Okay. Well, it's quite a short answer. You'll be relieved to know that we asked our clients. We did we have an incredibly loyal client base with our company in the UK, led by amazing managing director Joe Emerson. And we asked our clients if they were to bring another assessment to market based on their business needs, what would be their top 5 choices? And we took the top 3, which was emotional and social intelligence, resilience and motivation, and we put them together in one assessment to service that request. What came out of that, what evolved, is what you see in Flow Profiler today. But our clients asked us for it.
Nice. And what's your experience in terms of pushback when you took the product to market, right? What was the pushback? Is there a difference in pushback pre-pandemic and post-pandemic?
Post-pandemic, it's very much around the timing. There's a lot of global uncertainty going on right now. So there's also a lot of workforce attrition, call it the Great Resignation, Great Migration, Great Realization, whatever you want to call it. It's a phenomena, it's happening. And it feels like organizations with that uncertainty are kind of chasing their tails to really work out what this all means right now. And that's going to compete with time. Originally, it was around this quantifying what we used to think as the unquantifiable. What's the business case? How do I, as a learning and development or HR professional, take this business case to my financial director and make the argument? Now, it's much easier when you look at using Flow Profiler on the recruitment side of the business, so talent attraction, talent onboarding, talent recruitment, based on job fit. That's much easier to give you the quantifiable business case, because we can measure staff turnover. We can measure the cost of a candidate not working out, in 6 weeks. But the idea of communicating the value of investing in strong organizational culture, to be honest around issues such as workplace bullying or toxic workplace cultures, to start having those conversations. Not all leaders really want to go there, and actually, what's the business case? Now, I do think kind of COVID's starting to change that conversation now, through this workplace attrition, as a large percentage of our workforce are asking the questions about what do I want from my life, what employer is going to provide that for me. Organizations are forced to look at their workplace culture as they start to reconcile this idea that they're really going to have to position themselves as a destination employer, somebody, an employer that people actually want to come and work with. And so that becomes a whole marketing conversation. And so I do think that a lot of this stuff of flow profile is naturally going to reconcile itself because we're such a strong fit for that journey.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're biased. You're biased.
Yeah, agree, totally agree. I'm just, so while waiting, I think Sharm wanted to show this next question, but I thought you had answered it, because he said, this is a tough one I'm experiencing. How do you know when to commit all the way and let go and enjoy the experience better, or to know when to pack the bags and leave, I suppose? I think you had answered this question. And, of course, Gerald says, thank you, Flo ladies. Wonderful session. Thank you for developing this much needed tool. Back, see you soon in Malaysia. So he's going to invite you for sure. Yes. And before I pass it on to Sharm for the last question, I know we are at 8:45. Back, I find that it is post-pandemic. So for me in Malaysia, right? The pushback was very much before pre-pandemic, when we first, introduced Flow. I think the feedback was, we have so many assessments already, right? Why another one, right? But because now we are marrying a couple of things, right? Which is performance, optimal performance, and well-being, and whatever new hybrid working situation is. And, with people becoming more aware of their needs, I find that people are a lot more open to, or people are exploring a new product, if I may call Flow Profiler a new product in the market. So that's been my experience, and I was very curious about yours. With that, I think I'm going to just pass it to Sharm to ask the last question.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question in a slightly different way. I'm going to give you the metaphor that I have in mind. Or the analogy that I have in mind for you and Flow. All right. So I'll give you the metaphor and then I'll ask you the question. So it's like a mother, me, looking at my 17-year-old, all right, or now that he's 17 and he's growing, further up. From the time that he was born, I always looked at him as the potential that he had, right? The potential that is possible for him, and creating the environment to help him utilize it, grow and develop and become what he's meant to be, right? If you take that metaphor for Flow, what's your vision for Flow Profiler?
Well, my relationship, I'm not a mother, but I can appreciate the deep feeling. And this is deeply personal for me now, and that relation. You talk about, people used to always say, in your career you have to find your purpose, because if you find your purpose and it's all going to work out fine, and then you're always doing something you love and everything will fall into place. And I'm like, how the heck do I find my purpose? Like what how? And then it came through this idea of personal excellence and changing influencing, changing is them. They're amazing, but influencing people to the extent that I possibly can. I would like, in the short term, I would like to get to the non-English speaking countries, which means from a technology perspective, we need to start looking at our translations and stuff like that. We're a little way off that. I would, so that more people can have access to this. I would like to continue to listen and learn from the amazing people in our network and the people using this instrument to find out where they want to take this next. It's a collaborative process for me. So I can't really answer your question in a little bit a little nice little bow, but it is about making it more accessible for people and listening to what they want from us.
Cannot be a bowl. Thank you, Beck, for being with us this morning, spending 1 hour with us and sharing with us your journey with the Flow Profiler. And thank you for being in our lives. And thank you for trusting us and with the Flow Profiler, both in Malaysia and in Singapore. Thank you so much, Beck.
You guys are amazing. I have so much respect for you. Thank you, ladies.
You're most welcome. Bye-bye.
I have to say this to Beck. My life has changed forever because of
in a good way, right?
I think it's in a good way for the rest of the world that is connected to me. Because so really, very grateful for the product, and you know how I feel about it. So thank you very much. Stay wonderful and stay blessed.
Thank you, Marla. Thank you, Sharm. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
All right. So as we say bye to Lucky, I thought, what is this? Sharm gets a bigger space than me, right? On screen. Yeah. Because Joe put you up. Now, I just want to thank a few people who are on Facebook, which is not showing up for some reason. Yeah, sorry, guys. Nini, hi, Nini. Good morning. I know you've been watching. Sorry. Yeah. Nini is there. Luis Moraes is also there. Luis, sorry we missed you earlier. He says, fresh faces everywhere. Good morning, ladies. Perumal Ramasamy says, good morning. And Jay Sinaya says, great seeing you again. Back. So for some reason, we couldn't show the comments from Facebook. So I just have to check it. So
nice one,
good morning to everybody. Yes. So Sharm, I think it is 8:53, and I think we had a great time. I don't know. Yeah, we had a great time with Beck. So good to have her. And we always know 45 minutes, 1 hour is never going to be enough with Beck. We spend days with her, and every time we have conversation, it is the wizard in action. Activating different thoughts for us to continue being, aspire to be in flow state, but really going into what is, helping us to reflect what is really important for us at this moment in time. Right? With that, and with the Hari Raya spirit, Selamat Hari Raya, and as we reflect upon what it means to us, I want to say goodbye from Malaysia till we see you next week.
And goodbye from Singapore. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.